Well, it's finally here, folks. Millions of Americans set to lose their unemployment benefits. It's the day we didn't think would possibly happen with our federal government letting down millions of people. But that day is today. So I want to hear from you. I've been asking all of you to leave me a comment, and I've been reading through your comments all day today, seeing how this pandemic, how this government failure has affected you, with millions of you now facing unemployment benefits drying up completely. And that moment is now upon us. While your president is down there playing golf in Florida, while Congress will not step up to the plate and pass meaningful stimulus to the tune of $2,000 stimulus checks that the president wants, we are at this crossroads now. And this isn't just, like something you could laugh off and say, oh, they'll get caught up on this. No, this is a moment when millions of people will now face their unemployment, their pandemic unemployment assistance drying up, their PEUC benefits also drying up. There is no more stimulus coming. And it appears that the president this afternoon, reiterating once again to Lindsey Graham, Senator Lindsey Graham, who spoke to him this afternoon, Senator Lindsey Graham saying, quote, "I'm convinced more than ever that President Trump will not pass a stimulus bill unless there's $2,000 checks in there. $2,000 checks. Take it or leave it. But he's not going to sign this $900 billion stimulus plan. There have been a number of weak-kneed Democrats over the past few hours, past few days, that have just been saying, hey, you know what? Screw the American people. Screw the $2,000 in stimulus benefits. Just pass this crappy stimulus package. Just do it. Just do it because unemployment benefits are going to dry up. Sure, Americans will only get $600, but just pass it. Sure, the military-industrial complex will get billions of dollars. Just pass it. So sort of two camps have been emerging on the Democratic side, and there's really only one camp emerging on the Republican side, which is, we don't want to do anything. We didn't even want to give you $600 stimulus checks. We didn't want to give you a stimulus at all, and we're not doing anything. Mitch McConnell is the target of some ire from President Trump over the past few days during the Christmas holiday. President Trump basically saying, hey, Mitch McConnell, you would have not won re-election in Texas if it wasn't, or in Kentucky if it wasn't for me. So now these battle lines have been drawn in the Republican Party. And there's, again, two different philosophies emerging on the Democratic side. And I have to say, I only agree with one of them, which is pass $2,000 stimulus checks. Get rid of this crappy bill that's full of corporate bailouts and defense contracting pork, and actually get a meaningful, just standalone bill on Monday. So, which is what we could see unfold on Monday. But in the meantime, here's what Bernie Sanders thinks of this tonight. He tweeted just a short time ago that this has got to stop. Hey, Senator McConnell, the ball's in your court. Schumer, Pelosi, Trump all want us to pass $2,000 direct payments for working class Americans who are facing more economic desperation than at any time since the Great Depression. Leader McConnell, let the Senate vote. He went on in a separate tweet. He said 14 million Americans will lose their unemployment benefits if Trump does not sign COVID relief legislation today. Mr. President, stop playing golf and sign this bill now. And tell Mitch McConnell to pass legislation to provide $2,000 direct payments to the working class. So you see what's emerging here right before your eyes is this idea that, hey, Mr. President, just sign that $900 billion plan that we already sent you. But then in addition to that, also send out $2,000 direct payments to the working class for a total of $2,600. $2,600 stimulus. Bernie Sanders, again, on a failure of leadership on his part, could have for months been standing up and sticking to his guns on the $2,000 per month in a universal basic income to get us out of this pandemic. Again, multiple other countries do this. Unemployment assistance that's there throughout this pandemic, subsidizing wages throughout the pandemic until we get out of this. Again, the richest country in the world. This should be a no-brainer. But this is a absolutely paltry display. So where is the president right now? So the president wants to give off this air today that he has been working tirelessly for the American people, right? It's just, we've got the reporters down in Mar-a-Lago with us, the pool reporters that are covering the president during this Christmas break. He's just going to be so busy This was the letter literally sent out to reporters yesterday and today on what the president's schedule will look like. I mean, it is laughable. Saturday, December 26th. Out-of-town pool call time, 11 a.m. During the holiday season, President Trump will continue to work tirelessly for the American people. His schedule includes many meetings and phone calls. Tomorrow, Sunday, out-of-town pool call time for the pool reporters, 7:45 a.m. So these pool reporters need to be there for what? To watch the president has been hiding and going to the golf course. During the holiday season, President Trump will continue to work tirelessly. They literally just cut and pasted these for the American people. He's working tirelessly for the American people. His schedule includes many meetings and calls. No mention of tweets. That's what he's been spending his free time, playing golf and then tweeting at the clubhouse. The president has failed to show any leadership on this except an 11th hour throw a bomb into Congress and get them all, in a tizzy about what exactly is going to happen. So we do know at this hour that Nancy Pelosi has been meeting with Treasury Secretary Mnuchin. For what reason, I don't know. I mean, obviously he was kneecapped. He was a part of the negotiations. And then in the 11th hour, suddenly there's this presidential bomb that's thrown into the motorcade. And no one knows what the heck is going on. And the president decides at the last minute to blow up all these stimulus negotiations because he doesn't like one of these privacy provisions from the big tech companies, of course, which would give them broader assertions of power. He doesn't like that, which is, of course, in the stimulus package. Lindsey Graham basically saying he wants $2,000 stimulus checks, but what he really wants is that provision removed. He doesn't want these big tech companies to have as much power as they do. So go ahead and remove that piece of this. Meanwhile, battle lines again being drawn on the Democratic side in all of this. And Democrats, it's very interesting to watch as the sort of corporate Democrats come out and progressive Democrats come out and oppose this bill, saying absolutely not. This $900 billion stimulus plan was not even close to perfect. It was far from perfect, and it actually hurts the American people. So Tulsi Gabbard was a guest just last night on Fox on Martha McCallum's show. And I can't believe she was a guest on a major network show. Asked questions about why she voted against this bill and given airtime to actually explain herself. Yes, on network television, here's Tulsi Gabbard. Person who I would have absolutely voted for, who decries the military-industrial complex. By the way, she's a veteran. She voted against this, one of only 2 Democrats to vote against this thing. Here's why.
So joining me now is Tulsi Gabbard, Congresswoman from Hawaii. She is one of 2 House Democrats who broke with their party and voted against the stimulus bill. And she joins us now. Congresswoman, great to have you here tonight. Thank you for being here. So why did you vote against the bill?
Because this bill was a slap in the face to the American people. People who are sitting in their cars waiting in line for hours to get free food from the food bank. People who've been without jobs for months. People who are concerned about getting evicted from their apartments or their homes because they haven't been able to pay their rent. To say that it's okay to give hundreds of billions of dollars to corporate special interests, to foreign countries, to the military-industrial complex, but to the American people who are struggling and suffering and who need help the most, you get $600. It's an absolute insult, and the American people deserve better.
You know, on the defense bill, as I said, there is $7 billion in there. We heard from General Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, that he was very concerned about the Chinese buildup of the Navy. He feels that we are. First of all, here we go. OK, here we go. So, OK, I'm going to allow you to tell us why you voted against this as a slap in the face. But now, of course, you're on Fox. So, you better be pro-military here, right? Pro-military industrial complex. So we had General Milley on the show just a short time ago. We had General Milley on the show. Again, if you've watched my show for any length of time, you know what this means, right? Is that all of these members of the military industrial complex, the former generals, the former members of the CIA, they are all hired by major networks to be analysts, right? Unprepared in terms of.
So what happened back in the 1970s is that members of the military actually infiltrated. The CIA infiltrated the network television newsrooms and newspapers across the country covertly to pretend that they were reporters or sources, etc. And then they would feed information about how important it was for us to build up our military. Now they don't do that anymore. They were caught. They were called out. Instead, now networks just hire them as on-air analysts to spin this garbage. They're on television now. So just a short time ago, we had General Milley on the show who says, he's encouraged because there's $7 billion in this bill, and we need to pay attention to what's happening in China. Now, in the South China Sea, we need to start building more ships. We need to start showing our power in the South China Sea because we, as Americans, we need a boogeyman, don't we? We need to stay in these perpetual wars, nonstop perpetual wars that, you don't have food on your table. You don't have a good school. Teachers can't get paid. Your roads are broken and bridges crumbling. You don't have health care, but we need $7 billion to build more ships in the South China Sea. So again, when we have these military leaders on that go on these networks and want to spin this, and we have to look up to them as gods. Oh, General Milley was on. So how does she respond to this? A veteran who knows the dangers of the military-industrial complex.
Our naval ships, and he wants to put that money towards that. Do you think that that is a wise idea? And how ready do you think we are, given your own experience and your service in Iraq?
Well, that's a very big topic about our defense priorities, and whether you look at the big, massive spending bill that I voted against a couple of nights ago, that's one area where we should be asking questions about how our taxpayer dollars being used in a responsible way that best serves the emergency that we are facing. I think you're also talking about this National Defense Authorization Act. I've actually voted against this bill when it came to the House floor for a couple of reasons. Number one, it is a massive bloated spending bill. It heightens up the new Cold War we're in with increasing tensions between the United States and Russia and China, really with serious consequences. We're talking about nuclear armed nations here, and we've got to focus on how we can best de-escalate those tensions. But it also includes a provision in there that ties this president or any president's hands as they're trying to bring our troops home from Afghanistan. So,
Exactly. One of the reasons why President Trump vetoed the bill, because it ties the president's hands in his ability to end a war. Remember, Congress never voted for these wars. So there was never congressional approval for these wars. They were executive actions by the president of the United States at the time, George W. Bush, carried on by President Obama and extended under, trying to be ended under President Trump, to his credit. So the Defense Authorization Act basically says, no, if you're president of the United States, you've got to continue indefinitely these foreign wars. That's basically what it does. So she voted against it. Oh, but we had General Milley on our television a little while ago who said we need to spend billions more in the South China Sea to create another fake Cold War, while millions of Americans are out of work and can't pay their health insurance.
I know Trump vetoed this bill earlier today, and one of the main reasons he did so was because of this provision, Section 230, right? This thing that has to do with giving big tech companies like Google and Facebook and Amazon total legal immunity. And the reason why he's taken a stand on this, and I support his position on this, is because Congress has failed to act in making sure that the American people have a fair and free opportunity to the public square, and to make sure that these tech companies that are censoring people, that are choosing whose voices are heard and whose aren't, taking sides in political elections, that they are not immune from lawsuits. And so I think it's a critical thing to hold Congress's feet to the fire, because I've introduced legislation to fix Section 230. Other people have as well. They have failed to take action, and the American people deserve to know that these big corporations don't have greater influence over their representatives in Congress than the American people do, which is unfortunately the situation that we're in right now.
That's a progressive. She's not afraid to say that President Trump is right to veto this Defense Authorization Act. She's not afraid to stand up and say that this $900 billion stimulus package is a slap in the face. That's a progressive. You know who's not? Someone who's advising President-elect Biden right now, Larry Summers, who also needs to be thrown out. Progressives are really angry about this guy. Biden ally Larry Summers, in an interview, former Treasury Secretary, said $2,000 stimulus checks would be a serious mistake that could overheat the economy. We would, if there's one thing right now that we don't want, it's to superheat our economy, right? We don't want to overheat our economy. That would be bad. So he goes on to say, it would be a pretty serious mistake. He's reportedly an advisor to President-elect Joe Biden's campaign. He said boosting consumer spending was the wrong route to economic recovery. Of course, you know who disagrees with that, right? It's the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, and other members of the Federal Reserve. Okay, you're advising President-elect Biden right now? Oh, interesting. So again, these two camps are emerging. U.S. President Donald Trump has so far refused to sign the pandemic relief bill containing $600 checks, saying the checks should be $2,000 instead. He thinks that this would be a pretty serious mistake. He says, look, I'm not even sure I'm so enthusiastic about the $600 checks, let alone the $2,000 ones. The bill probably would pay out $200 billion and $250 billion a month for the next 3 months, Summers says. That level of compensation is running about $30 billion a month below what we would have expected. That's a lot of hole, he says. And given that's lots of the hole is not from the fact that people don't want to spend, but because they can't spend. They can't take a flight or go to a restaurant. So what in the world are you even talking about? And we know that Joe Biden we know now that President-elect Biden pushed Democrats to accept the lower $900 billion stimulus plan, the $600 stimulus checks. It took President Trump to stand up and say, no, it's too small. Let's go for $2,000 for members of for members of Congress to stand up and say, oh, we've got political cover now. Let's go for it. Others tweeting about this tonight, and this is a great response. How is it possible that North American Congress is able to approve packages of billions of dollars for the war and support external regimes and not be able to grant a paltry $2,000 for the people whom it claims to represent? Great question. One that Tulsi Gabbard just made a point of saying, I'm going to vote my conscience and vote this piece of crap down. And we have to figure out a plan to actually get help to the American people. So where are we right now? Well, if we look at the number of unemployment benefits at this hour that are running out, millions of families who've already seen income from the UI decrease over the last 9 months will suddenly have nothing coming in. Many of these families have children. They've been out of work for months at no fault of their own and may be food insecure. This pandemic, of course, has been the hardest on those that were already the most vulnerable, as we know, according to the data, those in low-wage jobs, people of color, and women. And at the end of the year, other projections like the eviction moratorium end, putting many further in danger. Even those who were able to prepare for an emergency fund have had that run out. If they put some money aside for the last 6 months, that's run out because of the last round of stimulus. So when you have a guy like Larry Summers saying, people want, they want to spend, but they won't. Or they can't spend. They're incapable of spending. And we shouldn't see if they're okay handling their finances. We shouldn't give them money. We should continue just to support foreign wars and continue to funnel money at big defense contractors. We need to support the $900 billion plan. And President-elect Biden has wanted that as well. Notice that the president-elect has been pretty quiet on this issue. Granted, he doesn't have any power yet, but he certainly has the power of the bully pulpit and the microphone to move things in a certain direction. This is scary and bad. I mean, if you think about the people that had money set aside, put put some money aside because they didn't make enough. Now they've had even further hours cut, and now their unemployment benefits are totally gone, and they have no prospect of a job, and the eviction moratorium runs out. And President Trump is down there playing golf. Here's one example. Josh tweets, super terrified right now. My benefits ran out 2 weeks ago and was ecstatic that the Senate finally agreed. Now millions sit in limbo waiting to hear their fate. Here's a C. Messier says, those of us forced out of work have been thinking about it for months. Typical 2020. When you think it really can't get any worse, Republicans say, hold my beer. Erica Martin says, I'm a single mom here who just filed my last week of pandemic unemployment assistance. No one even reads my resumes. Can't get an interview to save my life. I will be homeless in a few weeks in the freezing state of Massachusetts. I've never felt so hopeless and pissed off. And then President Trump seen golfing. Just hours after vowing to work tirelessly for the American people to make sure that you're taken care of. This is leadership, folks. This is leadership. We are screwed. The only hope is that perhaps on Monday, House Democrats put forth this standalone $2,000 stimulus check bill to force a roll call vote by Republicans. Then if, it will pass the House, then it goes over to Mitch McConnell. And what will Mitch McConnell do? Will he bring it for a vote or will he sit on it? And right now you have President Trump and Mitch McConnell at war with each other. And that's where we are. Please, I want to hear your comments. Many of you were kind to share your stories with me. I want to hear what you're struggling with, what you want Congress to do right now. Please let me know in the comments below. And please share this video out with anyone in your family that needs to hear these messages. And please subscribe to the channel. You can hit that little Santa hat that's right down here. Subscribe to the channel and turn on that little bell notification. We do these shows every day. Plus, we are live every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. So join us for our live show where we dive deeper into the economic news and progressive news that I think matter to you and your family. Much love to all of you. We will see you back here ASAP. And I will work tirelessly for you and will not be out playing golf.